We are on video number 4 of the read and commentary of the dialogue of the Savior. In our first video, Christ had talked to his disciples about the importance of distinguishing between labor versus good works. Labor being those things that are contrary to the seed that has been planted within you from the Father, and good works being that thing that the Father has planted in you from the beginning. The gift, the coin that Christ has given you, the seeds that the Christ has thrown in the field that take root. Some take root and others fall on rocks and others on thistles, some finding root and some washing away with the water. This is that thing called good works that you are to cultivate. The seed, the accomplishment that you brought with you, that is to become your name. So that was what was identified, and the importance of not allowing fear or anger to overtake you and misdirect you, so that you give all your power over to either the right or left-hand path that we'll talk about in video 2 and 3. The right-hand path being those that are dogmatic, that have religions. It's not always religion. Dogma also comes from governmental entities or corporate entities, or even peer pressure among parents, friends, families, or among peers. This is what's called the right-hand path. The pressure to do exactly as we tell you to do, otherwise there'll be consequences. Whether it be a set of laws that a particular religion cherry-picks from the Bible or another religion, or it be among peers or governors. That is what's called the right-hand path. Then there's the left-hand path. All the things of the world that tell you that there is no meaning in the world other than to chase after the things of the flesh. The lust to power, the lust of the flesh, the lust to control, the lust to be famous, to be popular, over following that thing that has been seated within you from the beginning. That straight and narrow that Christ talks about, that is neither left or right, but it's the straight and narrow that's called the way. That way is accomplished by focusing on what is your purpose and understanding you are elevated. You are as God. You are gods. Have I not said ye are gods? You are above this realm. This is the realm of the corrupt, the Kenoma. Now further on, Christ goes to explain the governors create and set up shop so that they may have control of you, and they manipulate the masses, and they flood the airwaves either with the left-hand path or the right-hand path. That is all there to create subterfuge so that you are not able to focus on exactly what you were brought here to do. Your gift to the world, your seed that you want to grow and cultivate to a tall tree with many, many branches so the many, many birds can feed and set on those branches. Your gift to the world. And once you've accomplished that, then you've fulfilled your mission, and thus you have no need the things of this world or to return to this realm. That's essentially what's been talked about in the last few videos. Now, as we approached the end of our last video, Christ had talked about the nature of wickedness. You see, humans are 3 parts: spiritual, soul, and flesh. And the flesh is the part that's called the wick, much in the way of a candle that's made up of fat, the flesh of an animal or flesh of some other thing that is used to burn down by fire. Fire is that first baptism. It's the baptism by Jehovah, the baptism by the demiurge. It is the logos of this universe. Then there's the baptism by water. That is the baptism of the true Father and the true Mother that was offered by Christ. John the Baptist representing that transition from the baptism by fire to the baptism by water. And it is the flesh body that's being burnt, it's the water that's being burnt, and it is also the air, the breath of life that's being burnt in this realm by fire. But you see, we put out that fire by being baptized by water. And that's that thing called wickedness, the thing of burning the flesh that we talk about. When we talk about wickedness, we're not necessarily talking about evil. We're talking about the logos of this universe, the laws that govern this universe, which are set forth by both the demiurge and the true Father, an amalgamation of both. It is the light, the essence of the true light and the true waters that emanate into this realm that sustains all life, and everything else puts it out. This is what creates the harmony, and why demiurge is made up of 2 parts. The god of good and evil, one part being Yaldabaoth and the other part being Sabaoth. So that's where we are. And when Judas and Matthew and Mary had listened to this everything Christ had told them, they wanted to know, can we actually see a vision of this thing called the pleroma? Can you take us to a place where we can see how everything comes together? And that's where we pick up in this video. So then, he, Judas, Matthew, and Mary, ... And remember, in this particular text, many parts are missing. So we have fragments that we will be reading, and we'll not be saying ... otherwise everything will be slowed up. So a lot of what we'll be doing here is basing our understanding within the context of what we understand thus far about the Gnostic text, along with what we understand about the Bible. So, Judas, Matthew, and Mary, ... And my guess is they were taken to the edge of heaven and earth. And when he placed his hand upon them, that's Christ, they hoped that they might ... They hoped maybe they might be saved. Imagine you're being taken to the edge of heaven and earth, and you're being suspended in space. You're up there among the stars. How this is done is not explained. You're able to see earth. Well, Christ brings his hand out and offers it to them, puts it on them to maybe help them be at peace. Judas raised his eyes and saw an exceedingly high place. So he's seeing the heavens, and he saw the place of the abyss below. And then he saw way down. Whatever that abyss is, we're not sure. It could be symbolic, could be an actual abyss, could be the sun. Judas said to Matthew, "Brother, who will be able to climb up to such a height down to the bottom of the abyss? For there is a tremendous fire there, something very fearful." And so this could also be him seeing the cosmos, where he's seeing all kinds of stars and universes, and it looks to him below like a bunch of fire in the dark. At that moment, a word came forth from it, that it being the universe. As it stood there, he saw how it come down. Then he said to it, "Why have you come down?" Now, what is this thing called the Word made flesh? This could be, again, them actually seeing the Word being manifested into the actual body of the universe and made into an actual anthropomorphic example, much in the way of Garden of Eden, where the seraphim, being inspired by the Christ and Sophia, were moved to come to the garden, appear as a snake. So we have a kind of transfiguration here. And so Judas or Matthew, whoever is asking this, wants to know, why have you come here? And the Son of Man greeted them and said to them, here it is, a seed from a power was deficient. Judas is asking, why did you come here? Or maybe it was Matthew, or Mary perhaps. And so Christ explained, this is why this particular seed came here. Because there was a deficiency in the Kenoma. And it went down to the abyss of the earth. And so here we're saying the abyss of the earth, so perhaps the abyss in this example is the earth. And the greatness remembered it. And what is the greatness? Well, the greatness is the Mother Father. And he sent the Word to it. And remember, in John, talked about the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word came to earth, was man made flesh. Man did not perceive it, because they were groping in the darkness. They didn't understand this logos. What is this word? It's called logos, called logic, right? And that's the Christ made manifest and showed up conceived in Mary first. See, woman conceived it first. And then Jesus then emanated it to the world, was the first to beget it, to get it, in other words, to become and get it. It brought it up into his presence so that the first word might not fail. And so that first word is the Christ. That first word is essentially that all men, the perfect human, is perfect. And God loves it just the way God created it, or the monad created it from the beginning. And that must be understood when it's all said and done. This is the reason why the Christ came here, to help the female, the Sophia, understand that it is equal to the male. And then once that's happened, there's harmony, you see. And that harmony then brings about eternity, because there is no limitations or ends, because there are no hierarchies. All right, so this is how this is being presented. Then his disciples were amazed at all the things he had said to them. And they accepted them on faith, and they concluded that it is useless to regard wickedness. So in other words, why worry about the ways of this world, the logic of this world, when that's not really the truth of things? That's not the reason we're here, to worry about what your parents or your siblings or your friends down the road or your peers or the governors are going to say or do to you. That's not what's important, because the power is in that seed. You see, that is planted in you. That's the very purpose. That is eternal, always has been, always will be. You see, that is the essence of who you are, not the flesh body. And so then he said to his disciples, have I not told you that like visible voice and flash of lightning will the good be taken up to the light? So he's reminding them that those good works is what is going to get you there. Like a visible voice and a flash of lightning. That's how quickly it's going to happen. Because when you hit that moment of epiphany and you completed your work, in that instant, you're no longer needed in this realm. And then, of course, you ascend either to the Holy Souls realm or you ascend to the Pleroma. Then all his disciples offered him praise and said, Lord, before you appeared here, who was it who offered you praise? For all praises exist on your account. Or who is it who will bless you? For all blessing derives from you. So they want to know, why didn't other people get this? Why was it so hard for others to see this? This is basically what I'm hearing. Weren't there other people who didn't understand your praises? Did they not understand what you're trying to say? What are those praises he's talking about? He's saying, then all his disciples offered him praise and said, Lord, before you appeared here, who was it who offered you praise? So this is what they think. This is what's in their mind. They think it's, again, about Christ wanting to be admired, Christ wanting to be some kind of Lord. Of course, they keep calling him Lord because that's what they're accustomed to. But that's not what Christ is wanting. And so he says, as they stood there, he saw two spirits bringing a single soul with them in a great flash of lightning. So two spirits. And a word came forth from the Son of Man saying, give them their garment. And so when this first part is asked, we're missing line 39. And so he doesn't answer it. We don't know how he answered. So that's basically, we just have to jump to line 40 when there's another thought here. So this idea of, who praised you before we praised you or realized wonderment of what you're offering us, that's not answered in this text. It's left out. And so then we move on. So there's two spirits bringing a single soul. And what is that single soul? What are the two spirits? With them in a great flash of lightning, a word came forth from the Son of Man saying, give them the garment. And the small one became like the big one. This is like a riddle, right? They were ... those who received them ... each other. Then ... disciples whom he had ... We can only guess what's being talked about here. The two spirits. So my guess in the single soul, the two spirits, are the male and the female coming together as a single soul, being in harmony. And we talked about earlier the great flash of light, right? In an instant, you're being transformed. And you receive your garment. When you're able to integrate these two spirits, the female and the male spirit, perhaps in the Holy Souls realm, that's how we are. That's our new bodies. Not saying that's the case or not the case, or that's good or bad. I'm simply saying that this is talking about spirit. It's not talking about body. Although it does talk about single soul, which does indicate we take on a more soul body than we do a flesh-oriented body. We're holding two spirits. So we're holding both the male and female. We're harmonizing these two. And we received our garment. And we become from small to big. They were those who received them, each other. So who they received each other. They, in other words, agreed. They were complementary. They were consorts. There was no struggle within that single soul. They were able to integrate being harmonizing the passive and the assertive nature. And they didn't look at female as lesser than the male, nor did the female despise the male or was jealous of it. And that becomes significant as we go later on, this word jealousy. For the nature of the female is to not have jealousy or bitterness toward the male. And the nature of the male is not to be insecure, that it can share with the female and to be able to see that the female is at the level of it, the male. Mary said, see evil, them from the first, each other. We don't know what's being said here. Maybe Mary's asking, why did they see evil in each other from the beginning? Why did that even happen in the beginning? The Lord said, when you see them become huge, they will. But when you see the eternal existence, that is the great vision. I'm guessing again, of course, with all of these fragments here, whenever you're seeing the opposite of yourself, it's maybe not familiar to you, and that opposite seems huge to you, it seems big. But once you understand there's an eternity and there's no need to be greedy, then you see a great vision. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Again, this is everything that I'm speculating on, based on following the context of kind of the flow of what seems to be talked about here, and the context of just the way we understand this particular text. They all said to them, tell us about it. So they want to know, okay, so how did this all kind of happen? He said to them, how do you wish to see it? So he's given them a different way that they can understand it, by means of a transient vision or eternal vision. Do you want to see it from the standpoint of how it happened within all of existence from all time? Or do you want to see it more from the standpoint of a certain time segment of kind of how that transition happened? He went on and said, strive to save that which can follow you. to seek it out and to speak from within it, so that as you seek it out, everything might be in harmony with you. For I say to you, truly, the living God in you, in him. Now, understand that Christ is the Savior, but the Christ is within all of us. That means that every one of us have come here to be a type of Savior. Every one of us. But when we go about trying to save others from damnation, that's the problem. That's not what we're saving others from. We're saving them, exactly what it says. Strive to save that which can follow you. So you don't have to make an effort. You just simply share your seed. You grow it. You put it out there. You make it available. And whoever's going to come is going to come naturally. And that was those that are there to follow you. And they will hear your message. Something in your message resonates with them. And then when I talk about message, is not that you go around, you're sort of this person that you're out there talking. Now, some people may become priests or spiritual people or write books or, do something verbal, maybe through music or writing or do speeches or whatever it happens to be, self-help books. We're talking about here is your work. Could be through the form of doing a piece of painting that speaks to people. Could be through the form of being a doctor and you're sharing with them how to live a healthy life. And that changes everything for them. Could be a computer scientist that's creating a program that is helping to make things easier for people's lives, or making something available that never existed before, that then changes and transforms people, that then subscribe to that particular, or buys that particular program, and that they follow them in a sense, maybe indirectly or directly. So the thing is, it's about doing your work. It's not taking upon yourself that you know best for everybody. Your work will speak for itself, and to seek it out and to speak from within it. See, that's where you're speaking from. You're not speaking from your brain. You're speaking from the essence of that seed within, so that as you seek it out, everything might be in harmony with you and others. For I say to you, truly, the living God in you and in him. So it's in you, you see. God is within you. The Christ is within you. It created you, so trust it. And when you start trying to think too hard about it, you're not having faith. You're trying to take it upon yourself, a human, and you're just relying on things external instead of the God, the power of God, the God power within you, you see. Judas said, truly I want. So my guess is he wanting to be able to live that way. He's like, I'm hearing you, but how do I integrate this in? How does this becomes natural to me? The Lord said to him, living dwells entire the deficiency. So all I can say is, my guess is Christ is saying the deficiency is entirely within you. It's not outside of you. Now, yes, this realm is deficient, and this realm is what is broken, but it's how you see yourself within is the actual deficiency. It dwells within you. So he's not telling him how to become this person, strive to save that which can follow you and seek it out and harmonize with it and share it and all this. He's not telling him how to actually do that. There's no step process, step 1, 2, 3. He's saying that address the deficiency within and everything else will then follow. That's what I'm hearing. Judas says who? So that's it. It doesn't say what else, ... So it's not clear. So the Lord said to him, all the works which, the remainder, it is they which you. So again, it's not clear. I'm just saying, again, we're just going by the context, the flow thus far. The works are within you. The remainder is that which is the outside of you, the flesh part of you. Then Judas says, behold, the governors dwell above us. So it is they who will rule over us. I think, again, Judas is really struggling, this sounds great, Christ. You want us to do all this work and you want us to trust, and this stuff is in us, but we got all of these things that we're struggling with in this realm, even our own deficiencies. And not just that, but look at all these people and trying to control us, these governors telling us what to do, all the stress of life. And so then Christ said, it is you who will rule over them. But when you rid yourself of jealousy, then you will clothe yourselves in light and enter the bridal chamber. And why is it jealousy? Why does jealousy allow you to rule over the rulers, over the governors? Why is it that? Because when you become envious, or you start to covet that power, you say, well, they got this power over me and it's not right, and I'm going to show them. Let me go ahead and, become rich and famous so that I can have power and we can battle over this realm together. We can fight over it. Then that leads you astray, because that's not what this is about. Remember what it talked about earlier when Christ had said, when they came back from the vision, and they had this revelation. See how quickly they forget? Because this is like many years versus just, whatever, several hour vision. So it's going to take more than this, but they already forgot that revelation that they had as they came down. And they realized, they said, well, wow, what's the point of fighting over this realm? Pointless, right? But they already forgot. And Judas is already like asking. It's like, okay. And Christ is saying jealousy is what's confounding you. And that's pride and envy and all those things you see. And Judas said, how will our garments be brought to us? And they're just hearing this symbol called garment, right? This is the new body. Blink of an eye, you'll be transformed from a flesh body unto a translucent body. This is what Christ is symbolically calling garments. And Judas wants to know, how do we get them? How do we become that? Who's going to bring it to us? How's it going to be brought to us? And see, in their minds, again, they're thinking from a very simplistic way, right? Very literal. Christ is, he's being symbolic. He's being metaphysical here. And Christ said, there are some who will provide for you, and there are others who will receive from you. I'm just guessing, ... receive, ... but I think it's receive for you. For it is they who will give you your garments. For who will be able to reach that place which is the reward? But the garments of life were given to man because he knows the path by which he will leave. And it is difficult even for me to reach it. You see, why is it difficult? Christ knows. That's why he wept at the rock. He knew that part of his path was to go to the cross and die, right? To hang the laws of the prophets and to be finished once and for all. He'd become the final sacrifice. And even for him, he said, it's difficult even for me. But here is the answer. The answer is that you're not going to be getting your garments just anyone, but it's going to come from those that follow you. Now, in other words, when you finally finished your mission, you plant your seed, you grow it, it feeds many fruit, then those will praise you, will always remember you for eternity, and they will become a kind of garment, where you will become literally take on an eternal kind of body, or a much longer lived body, in this Holy Source realm where we average 1,000 years, instead of maybe 80 here to 100, maybe if we're fortunate. But that's the point. So for who will be able to reach that place which is the reward. So it isn't through trying to work for rewards. That's what Christ's saying. It isn't putting your mind on, I want to, do all these wonderful things so that when I get to heaven or the afterlife or wherever I'm going, the pleroma or the Holy Spirit realm, Christ and Sophia are going to be pleased with me and God's going to be pleased and going to give me all these rewards. That's not the way, because Christ is saying it's even hard for me. It would be even hard for me to do that. It isn't about a certain quota you meet, this many less sins, okay? But it's about completing the work. And those that follow you, everything you've done, the good works, not the good works as in, let me go out and, give food to the homeless or something. Now, if that is your path, if that's your calling, if that's what you feel that brings you joy, yes, it's hard work, but it feels like that's why you're here, then of course, that's your path. That's the straight and narrow that Christ talked about. But if that's not your path, you don't feel compelled, that doesn't warm your soul to do that, then don't do it. Do that which is why you've come, and you will know when you're doing it, you feel it's the most wonderful thing. You're in this state of ecstasy. You're like, time is setting still. It's the thing you enjoy most. And it's at work. It's not just playing. It's what I call a work. Yes, it's going to be difficult. It's hard, but it's the most rewarding. Think of it that way. That's actually what's rewarding. It isn't doing the good things that's rewarding, but it's actually the actual doing of that work that is rewarding. Seeing the fulfilling of that work is perhaps the most rewarding thing. And the cherry on the top of that is seeing all those that are reaping from the work you've done. You brought something wonderful to the world, something that's benefiting others, right? That's really ultimately what it's all about. That's why Christ represents sacrifice, because we're all being brought here as sacrifice. That's why even our bodies deteriorate. Everything in the earth is reminding us we've been given so that we can sacrifice. That's the nature of this realm. Once we're able to give that up and no longer need that cycle, then we no longer need it, and thus we release ourselves from it. But we're doing it so that we're wanting to bring something wonderful to this realm. And that's the sole reason we're here. All right, I think that's a good place to go ahead and stop it, and we'll pick back up in the next video where Mary said, thus with respect to the wickedness of each day, and their laborer is worthy of his food, and the disciple resembles his teacher. She uttered this as a woman who had understood completely. So 3 phrases she uttered, and why are these 3 phrases so significant? And why was it so important that she reached that epiphany at that particular moment? at the point at which she actually literally understood, had complete and utter gnosis in that moment. And we'll talk about it in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, have a blessed day.